Welcome to August's Flamingo Community Lagoon. Once again, it is the last Tuesday of the month, so we're here hanging out to chat about Flamingo Finance, the project roadmap, DeFi, crypto markets, and anything else, as well as answer any questions the Flamingo community may have. For those who don't know, Flamingo Finance is an easy-to-use DeFi platform built on the Neo N3 blockchain. As a decentralized exchange, Flamingo is designed with smart functions for everyone from beginners to advanced cryptocurrency users. On Flamingo, users can stake cryptocurrency in liquidity pools and earn rewards in our native token FLM. We've been around for over 3 years and currently have a TVL or total locked value of over $40 million. We've also introduced our very own stablecoin called FUSD, where users can add collateral and borrow the stablecoin against the collateral. For those listening in on YouTube or Spotify, we hold these lagoons live on Discord, which we'll link below so you can join us in the next one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe from any platform you're tuning in from. Your support is greatly appreciated and is important to get more flamingos at the lagoon each month. If you're in the audience, feel free to raise your hand and come join us on stage to ask any questions you may have, or drop your questions in the chat and we'll keep tabs on it.
So I guess there's a lot of questions. It would be nice to be sick today, but here I am, or here we are. It's been a rough couple of weeks. It's not been fun, but it is what it is, and I think the community in general has been positive. Flamingo is trying to help out, and yeah, it's a tough situation right when we were supposed to deliver the order book and flux, but now we're working overtime to deliver it all at once. Basically, the plan was to do it over different let's call them epochs, but now we will do most stuff basically all at once, since we need to migrate these F assets as well. So if there's any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or come up on stage.
I guess there will be some questions as we move along, but I could start with giving a little bit of update on the overall progress of the order book and flux, so people can know that we're still on schedule, kind of. The original schedule has been surpassed a long time ago, but the new schedule, we're still aiming for September. I think because of the hack, we're maybe delayed a couple of weeks. I guess
it depends a lot on the security audit, because right now the contract is for a security audit. So if everything's fine and nothing needs to change, then that's really fine. But usually, or hopefully, they find something. Yeah.
Yes, but we're still moving ahead as if everything is okay with the contracts with regards to the audit. So if there is some changes that needs to be done, it is not how we interact with the contract. So the front end should be ready anyways to accept the new contracts on mainnet, and everything will soon then be up and running on testnet with the full Flamingo suite, with everything migrated, even a new cross chain, so that we can test everything together now after the hack as well. So I think late September is still on, but we'll have to see with the security audit team if they manage to do all they need to do with the audits of the new F assets and everything that I guess will be deployed. I think they said that they will be quite busy, and I guess it's nice for them to prioritize like ecosystem stuff over Flamingo stuff. So yeah, we'll have to see when they can now finish the Flamingo audit. And in terms of Flux, it will then be, I guess then it will be pushed out into October if we are launching the order book in late September. But we aim for, what do we think, Mr. Google? Is it a couple of weeks after or something, the order book? Or was it really close to?
Yeah, as soon as possible. So we're all hands on deck now, having devs working on order book integration front end, and also having devs working on Flux front end. When the order book contract is done with the audit, then it's time to have audit for Flux. And Flux isn't, I would say, Flux is 1% as complicated as the order book. So it should be much simpler to audit as well. But for the order book, it's a really complex contract, so that will require some time. But with the test suit that you made, Atlasur, I think it will be faster for them as well, because now we have written tests for every function, everything we want to fail, everything we want to succeed in the contract. So it should be a lot easier for the security auditors as well to see if they can break something.
Yes, and I understand if they need more time because of the complexity of the contract, of course. So we're a little bit at their mercy and at their the mercy of their schedule, I guess. Flipit is asking what new cross-chain. Did I hear it right, Atlasur? Well, it's not the new one that we've been talking about that maybe should be a new, like, Neo infrastructure or Flamingo infrastructure. We have to have some sort of bridge to resume operations of Flamingo so that the prices are not out of sync. And I think from Neo Global Development's perspective, the fastest way to get like the ecosystem back up and running so that we can get some tokens from outside, I guess, Bitcoin, ETH, and USDT is important for the whole ecosystem to run. They decided that we should get the old bridge up and running somehow, and make sure that that it's safe and audited again. And I guess that is what they are busy with, making sure we can like resume that old bridge or something.
Yeah, but also then some more security features, and don't leave $1 million or two in a hot wallet or in the contract. So yeah, resuming operations with the old bridge, but with the new contract, and that is needed for the migration of funds either way. It also needed for arbitrage to make sure that the prices on Flamingo is in sync with the rest of the world of centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. So, but then after that we have planned for this, because we need to go away from Poly Network. I think we've been talking about that for 3 or 4 months now. The issue all of crypto have today is that you either have platform risk or you have asset risk when you're going cross-chain. The cross-chain solution that we have, you will still have, most likely you will have some asset risk if you use wrapped assets, but if you use native assets, like you trade from Ethereum to Neo, or you trade from Bitcoin to Neo, or from gas on NeoX to gas on Neo N3, then you will not have any asset or platform risk at all.
Yes, and
then you can also trade cross-chain, so you can buy Ethereum NFT with Neo from Neo N3, basically, if someone matches that request.
Yeah, it's basically cross-chain swaps. So then you will hold that asset on the network that you swap to. So if you swap Neo or BNEO for ETH, then you will have ETH on Ethereum network, not on Neo. So I guess we will still have wrapped versions of assets to make sure that we can utilize the Neo Entry blockchain and NeoX as well, and all the cool features. But you'll have the option on how you trade, if you want to go native to native assets, or if you want to use maybe some complex product like lend on Flamingo.
Yeah, so that will of course be better for FUSD as well when that is ported to different EVM chains, because then it's easier to go between all different chains with FUSD. So yeah, but that's the plan for replacing, but we need to get back up with what we have and get things started. So I think that's that we are in good position now to finish all of those tasks.
Yes, and in terms of prioritization, it would be to resume operations as they were as fast as possible, and helping NGD and Poly Network however we can to make sure that we can resume operations. And like right now, lend might not work if prices are out of sync and arbitrage bots are not able to do their work. So it should be number one priority. When we have nothing to help out with, of course, our priority is to continue the schedule as it were with the order book and Flux. So now we just have a little bit more to think about, a little bit more to strategize and plan out. But other than that, it's basically business as usual. So what we've been working hard on this couple of weeks is to figure out how Flamingo really can help out the community after the attack, because no matter what we do, the hacker were able to exploit some assets, and we can either just lay down and take it and do nothing about it, or we can try to do something. And that's mainly what we've been working hard on, except for providing technical help however we can to NGD and Poly Network. So yeah, we have a plan, and I hope most people have read the article for or about the plan and what the next steps are. But maybe if you want to summarize a little bit, Mr. Google, about what the plan is, the attack, and how it looks right now.
Yeah.
I also just dropped the link in the chat so people can read along if they choose to.
Perfect.
Now the plan is that once the bridge are back up, there will be new wrapped assets, and there will be deployed a contract where you can then send in your old F assets, the FVBTC and other tokens that you have, the wrapped assets, and then you will get a new version of those wrapped assets, and at the ratio, so they are fully backed. So let's say you have 1 Bitcoin, you send it in and you get back 0.8 Bitcoin version 2, basically. That Bitcoin you can go to Ethereum with and get WBTC, or you can then stake in new pools on Flamingo. So then the old pools will be suspended, and then there will be new pools with the new F assets. Also, the pool layout will change. That was a plan to do that, but it was planned to do it at a later stage after Flux, after order book and everything. Now it will happen basically before, because we don't need those old F asset pools. We need the new ones, and then we don't need to introduce the same pairs when we're trying to move over to FUSD pairing of most tokens. So that's the current plan now. And when you swap at that 20% to 25% loss, you will be what's it called again? You will be
eligible.
Yeah, for a Flux airdrop every month. for 24 months for approximately 10% or like 50% of your loss. So there's like 40 million flocks that will be distributed over 24 months. And of course, if we or anyone comes in contact with the hacker and he decides to return the funds to get the bug bounty instead, then people will get their funds back as well. So of course, then the airdrop for flocks will stop for the future. But yeah, it's but for the hacker, it's usually, unless you're like North Korean or a mob dude, it's usually best to return funds because there's no place to use them. You can do it online gambling or something like that, but still there will be traces, and the funds are already marked as stolen. So as soon as those assets hits an exchange or somewhere centralized, they will get notified and most likely seize those assets. So so at least in my head, I think that there's a big chance that the hacker understands that it's better to get a percentage of money he or she can use instead of having a lot of assets that's basically untouchable.
Yes, and I think maybe I should go a little bit into detail about what really happened to then explain why you have to exchange those old tokens into new tokens at a ratio. You don't have to, of course, do anything, but that's the most beneficial route to go, basically. So when the attack happened, the attacker was able to get a hold of wrapped assets on Neo that the attacker shouldn't really have access to. So the attacker could initiate a cross-chain transfer, let's say from WETH to FWETH on Neo side, and they would get 10 times the amount they were eligible for. They used those multiplied assets, the 10 times the amount that they shouldn't have, to extract value from the platform in various ways, by going back to Ethereum or either by trading on Flamingo and depositing to centralized exchanges and withdrawing assets there. So they used various methods to extract value from those assets. What you then need to do is to check, okay, these wrapped assets, how many of them are in circulation on Neo N3, and how many of them are locked on the source chain. So let's say Ethereum or BNB. And you need to calculate to see the difference, what's in circulation and how many tokens are backing them. When you add all that up, you should get a ratio. So let's say they are 75% backed. That means that the attacker was able to extract 25% of the value of the locked assets. So that is what we need to compensate for when we try to resume operations for those cross-chain assets on Neo N3. So what we effectively do when you trade those old tokens in for new tokens, if you trade 1 token, you get 0, or 100 token, you get 75 back. That way, the new assets are fully backed by the tokens they should represent on the source chain. And the final number for that is being calculated by NGD. So we're 100% sure that the new assets will be fully backed. And that's basically why you need to trade in those assets at a lower ratio than what you originally have, if you hold those FNP assets in your wallet on entry. And please correct me if anything with that explanation was wrong, but I I think I explained the gist of it.
Yeah.
The attack was quite complex and a lot of like moving parts in terms of where the attacker moved the assets, but we were able to create sort of a map on all the activity and figure out what he did and where he went with the assets.
Yeah, no, that was a good explanation. And we should explain a little bit why the prices are inflated on Flamingo by 20% or so currently. What the hacker did with the quote unquote free assets or wrapped assets that they got was I was just checking a message that Troff sent me, just making sure that people can still hear me. Yeah, so basically they took the quote unquote free assets that they stole and swapped them to the native assets such as Neo, FLM, and some others. Sent those out. And so in doing so, by taking the stolen assets and swapping to the native assets, it pumped native asset prices 20%, which is why you see them inflated today. And the reason they're still inflated is because the bridge is still down. So users can't actually take the tokens that are on Flamingo and bridge them out. So there's actually zero opportunity for arbitrage at the moment between a Flamingo and other exchanges, which is why the prices are so out of sync.
Yes, which in turns make lend not work until the assets are in sync with the rest of the market again, at least for some tokens. I should say you can't really take more loans, take out more loans, but you could repay.
You can do that with Bitcoin because that price is still within the range, but with Neo and Flund you can't.
Yeah, as soon as like the assets are out of range, you can't really take out any more loans, but you can always repay. So that's you always have that options if you want to.
Laser and Mr. Google, I had a couple of folks DM me about asking why that is. If one of you might get into detail a little bit more about why we do that.
Why you can't use lend when the price difference is too big?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's because that's an attack vector. If you can manipulate the prices on Flamingo and basically do flash loan or flash attack, so then you could basically dump the price of FLM or of Neo on Flamingo in the same block. So first you start by dumping the price, then you liquidate or margin maintain people, and then you sell back your Neo to get back Neo to restore the price again. So then you could basically steal money because you manipulated the price, so others got too high loan to value. So with that, you have to also submit a signed object, and in that object you then have prices from most centralized exchanges. So if the price on the centralized exchange and on Flamingo varies by, I think it's 2% or 3%, then you're not able to lend, or you're not able to margin maintain anyone.
Yes, it's a security feature to detect any type of manipulation if the Flamingo prices are not in sync with the market. Either something is happening in the market or happening on Flamingo, and we should wait until prices stabilize to make sure that the user interaction is correct.
Yeah, like now, let's say that people then go now, let's say BNEO is 2x on Neo than on Binance. So they go and lend, and then you lend basically 70% loan to value because you lend with a much higher asset price. And then arbitrage works again, and the price of Neo goes down on Flamingo. then those loans are unhealthy. With 35%, it's really no risk for the platform, because it's a platform risk once you're over 100% loan to value. So, but still, there's no reason that the platform and other users should bear that risk from you lending assets from yourself, basically. So it's nice to see that in cases like this that that lend works as it's designed, and that's also why things like order book and lend and everything takes time, because you have to plan for scenarios that's unlikely or that you don't see likely at the time that you do it, to make those products safe as soon as the scenarios play out. So yeah, for lend now, it's no issue. And if Bitcoin price drops and it doesn't drop on Flamingo, then we have the security fund. That's a whitelisted bot that can do margin maintenance, and then it can keep the platform healthy. In these conditions, it wouldn't happen until loan to value were around 75 to 80%. But then it will kick in and start to margin maintain positions to make sure that the platform doesn't suffer from the price difference.
Yeah, that to make money, or set out to make money. It's set out to make sure that the platform and the FUSD is healthy and backed. So that's why also the percentage of the loan to value is so high, because usually other players are allowed to take that opportunity and earn money on margin maintenance. But in rare cases like these, the only one who can do is the whitelisted bot. So it's there to maintain and not gain, basically. I hope that answered your question, Bordois. Was there another question as well that you had received on DM?
No, it was mostly, I mean, I've had some other questions just related to the hack in general and what that means for them and what that means for the prices and what the best thing to do is. And I've been, answering those questions as they all come up. And you guys have covered most of those already. But yeah, these latest questions were about why they can't borrow against Flund and Neo right now. And yeah, the devs just answered those questions thoroughly as well. If anyone else in the audience has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and come on stage and join us and ask away, or feel free to drop them in the chat. Remember that this is specifically always a Ask Me Anything, aka AMA. So we're here to. This is the spot. If you have any questions and you want answers live, this is the place to do it.
Do you want to come up on stage and be pessimistic or optimistic? If you want to cry, if you want to laugh, just come up on stage, and that's allowed as well. And we can just talk it out. And yeah, if anyone also has some questions about what is best to do right now, like you mentioned, maybe some users have DM'd you about that, and I know people have in the general and price talk as well. It's difficult to give any guidance on what's best to do, because like every action has some sort of risk attached to it.
Yeah.
So you are best to make your own decision, but make them as informed as possible, so we can provide as much information as possible, and we can provide information about the risks, about the upsides, and then ultimately you'll have to make your own decision. And this would actually also be a reminder that there is usually more risks in the Web3 space because of the nature of the Web3 space. That is, you have self-custody, so there basically is no one to bail you out once something goes wrong. With a lot of centralized services, there are rules and regulations that make sure that they have insurance in place that could help out in when accidents happen. But there as far as my knowledge, there are no insurance companies who would like to insure a bridge. If they are, then it seems stupidly crazy riskful. But yeah,
but like in centralized financial institutions, you're not insured. You're bailed out by the government. So basically, you're bailed out by your own savings. So here it
everything
is.
has risks. Even traditional finance has risks. So you need to just weigh your options, and you need to look at the returns and versus the risks. And now, like some of the risk maybe you should have expected has come to fruition. What to do now? Well, there are several options on what to do next, and how to maybe get some value back, and how to like maybe take more risk to gain back your loss, or maybe be conservative and try to play another game if you can't stomach the Web3 crypto game. So we can inform as much as possible, and then you'll ultimately have to decide yourself.
Yeah. So updates on the Stuck F assets? No, but I just pinged NGD about it, and we'll come back as soon as possible. Hopefully,
we do kind of have an
yesterday.
update with regards to they're getting close to finishing up. I think the latest status was before the weekend that they were going to work over the weekend until Monday to have something ready, and I think like they're putting together a spreadsheet, and they had kind of like 5 out of 6 spreadsheets fully calculated or something, and they were just missing the last one. I think that's the kind of without any of the details in terms of percentage. That's the details in terms of progress, I guess.
Yeah. So some questions about Das' latest Neo tweet. I read it. I was actually happy that he tweeted something about Neo. So that's good. It's nice to see that he's anchoring his commitment to Neo. When it comes to the radical change, I'm not sure what he's talking about. There was some. We were at this what was it called down in Hong Kong? Some community meetup or something like that. And then there was some issues brought up by the core team and stuff like that, and I seen that they addressed some of those by getting more developers in the core team. But what he mean by but something truly radical to change the gloomy situation, I'm working on it. So at least he's working on it, so that's good. Yeah, and he said something when we were in Hong Kong that I really liked, and it was that the goal for Neo is to solve smart economy. It's not to like that Neo N3 is the solution to it. The goal for them is to solve smart economy, and if that means that in the future that's done on an EVM chain, because EVM is the type of virtual machine people like to use, then Neo will solve smart economy on an EVM chain. So yeah.
And I think, like from my own experience, it's easier to build stuff on Neo N3 with how I'm able to program. So I think it also makes sense that to have that duality as well with a Neo VM-based N3 blockchain and the Neo X EVM-based blockchain, where you could truly like experience and innovate on Neo N3, and then you could port all that complex logic and feature sets of smart contracts over to Neo X once you have that experience on something that is, I would say, 10 times easier to build on. So I'd actually like having that duality. For Flamingo, we could be both places, and we can experiment one place and then implement that later where maybe more users are, hopefully on Neo X, and also like eventually make sure some of the users on Neo X makes N3 wallets and are able to use the cool features on N3 as well. So I really like it.
I think on the EVM you get more copy-paste projects. It's the nature of the EVM chains, but also then it's easier to get copy-paste stablecoin deployed there. It's much easier to get the integrations into different exchanges because they already support EVM. So every time people ask about something and we're like, yeah, you're supporting the Neo N3, and they're like, yeah, it's an EVM chain, right? And we're like, no. And then they don't support that. So because that requires you to write different code than just copy paste other EVM stuff.
Yeah.
So what share of Flamingo's revenue will Flux holders get? How will Flux API compare to Flund? Yeah, that is a good question. It's really hard to answer because the Flux holders will get all trading fees from order book. So if order book has a high volume, it will be really good for the Flux holders. If the order book has low volume, it's not good. Also, Flux will get income from lend. It will get some minting, but not as much as Flund had. And I think if people then see that they can now sell 1 Bitcoin on Flamingo without price impact, hopefully that makes them trade more on Flamingo, because right now it's hard to be a trader on Flamingo. You're just swapping or converting your assets. But then in the future, the plan is that you can actually trade there, so you can set the limit price, and then someone, a taker, will come and fill your order, and then the fee will go to Flux. So high volume is really good for Flux.
Yeah, we'll see how we can attract some more trading volume as well, and maybe run some competitions. And each time we do, all those fees generated should go to Flux holders. So it's going to be quite fun as well, I think, once the whole new Flamingo, like is it version 3 or something, is live, because then we can do a lot more activities like that.
Yeah. Yeah, with $15 million of daily volume, that will be really good fees for Flux. So I'm optimistic that the order book will change a lot, and also Flux will change a lot for Flamingo, because one, we reduce minting, and 2, we introduce burning, and 3, we also introduce it into lending with FLM with a really low interest rate. So I think that's 3 things that will make FLM more attractive. Reduce the inflation, start deflation, and also more incentive to lock up your FLM and lend. So that's 3 good things that will come. And of course, the API you get on Flux, if that's high, more people will buy FLM and get in there. So that will also help.
Yes, definitely.
By the way, when you say more FLM locked, I just want to remind everyone, and it's one of the main reasons I like Flamingo so much, is that when you lock assets on Flamingo with any of our features, none of those come with time constraints. Right, a lot of DeFi, a lot of other projects out there, it's like lock your token for 30 days or a year or this or that. I tend to avoid those types of projects and those types of features, because I want to be able to withdraw my tokens when I want them or when I need them, or when I strategize the best time to do so. But with these locking programs with some of these other projects, you just can't. You're stuck. One thing I've always really enjoyed about the locking of assets on Flamingo is that even though you're locking them, you can quote unquote unlock them or withdraw with various features anytime you want. I just wanted to remind people of that. When we say locking, it's a little bit different than on a lot of other platforms.
Yeah, that's really true, because it's your assets and you should be able to do what you want. Of course, on Flund you have that exit fee, but that's there. So it's you know it when you go in that you have an exit fee. So but you can always take out your assets 2 minutes later. Of course, when flocks come, the exit fee will be waived, and you can then get out FLM or you can convert it into flocks.
Yeah, and with flocks, I think we solve a huge problem with actually locking assets that most platforms have, including Flamingo with Flund, that it becomes a system that is quite easy to abuse in terms of trying to extract as much value from the platform without caring about the platform. Just stay there, lock your assets, extract as much value as you can, and move on to the next project to earn and basically burn the project to the ground. You can see that with all major like staking solutions, that usually if they have like a set date, then on that date they have like massive sell-offs, or like if a whale locks for a year, once that time runs out, you will see a massive sell-off, and they basically get their assets back again. And it's kind of like you're not giving up anything. You're taking a risk by locking it, okay. But with Flux, you do have to make a decision. Do I want to exchange my FLM to participate in this platform? And do I really believe in the future of the platform? Am I willing to give something up? And I'm expecting good returns by giving something up. I'm making that sacrifice beforehand. And the only way I can return them is if the market believes the same as me, and I can sell those assets to another user if I do not want to hold those share of platform revenue anymore. So I think that makes more sense, because then you're mitigating all those risks for the platform. So as we experience with Flund, should we have the exit fee at like 10%, 15%, 20% to incentivize people to just lock as long as possible and just not dump as soon as the FLM price pump? So this is why Flux basically was born, so we can have that type of asset that lives in harmony between users and the platform, and it's not just like a toxic relationship where one is trying to extract value from the other. So it should be more in harmony, and I think that the new logic behind Flux, that basically is a new version of Flund, it just makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, and you have to try new stuff before you can like invent new stuff. So with Flund, we solved the community's request for single staking. With Flund, we also saw then some new issues. So basically, first it's an improved single stake, and now we improved that once more. And maybe that's not the final thing, but yeah, at least for now, that's the best thing we know of. And if someone thinks that they know something better, just say it, because we're all ears. It's not that we want to make the worst product. We want to make the best product. So FLM will come to the NeoX bridge, I guess, when FLM is launching on NeoX. We plan to do that October, November this year. So yeah, and also Flux will come as soon as it's done, after we're done with the order book and restoring the bridge service, basically.
Yeah. So the hack basically made like a minor dent in our schedule, but we're basically just chugging on like we intended.
Working harder, yeah.
Yeah,
doing more things at
the same time. Yeah. Basically, so well, we have to lend our knowledge whenever we can. Of course, we're allowed to prioritize. So yeah, it's all hands on deck when we need to solve something with regards to the hack, and if not, we're all hands on deck to release the order book. And we're trying to have like laser focus now, so that we can do the order book through to completion. And once resources are available, then it's laser focus on Flux.
Yeah. I think most people that's been in the community for a long time know that the plan was that's the tentative plan. Stuff comes up, like you can have a hack, of course. That's one thing, but then also there are security reports in the bug bounty program. A lot after ChatGPT came out, and every time they make some new stuff for ChatGPT thinks that Neo N3 and EVM are the same. So every time we have to, of course, test the hacker's proof of concept, we need to make sure that it's not valid. So it's not like, but I'm supposed to work on the order book or flux today, so I'm just gonna ignore this critical bug and take that next week. It's not like that. As soon as you get a critical bug in, you have to drop whatever you're doing to actually figure out, is this a critical bug or isn't it a critical bug? And with the rise of AI, we get a lot of critical bugs that are not critical bugs, but in maybe those 100, all of a sudden one of them are a critical bug. And so we need to treat every report as it is a critical bug, else we're gonna ignore it the time it actually is. So that's stuff that takes time away from us as well. So it's in a perfect world, everything would work in time. And also it's complex. It's not like you want us to release Flux mid-September with bugs so you lose your money. It was the same with FUSD. It was 3 or 4 months late. And today, when we see prices are off on Flamingo and exchanges, nobody's complaining that we actually took our time to make functionality for those kind of scenarios so people couldn't exploit and take your assets. So it's a disappointment, but it's more disappointing losing all your assets, I guess.
Yeah. And on a positive note, when we're building out these two contracts, the order book contract and the Flux contract, with a new test setup and that whole test suite that we build, the Flamingo devs is also working hard on making sure that you could run all this yourself without like much knowledge, basically just installing the required packages, and then you could run a command to make sure or to make a copy of Flamingo run on your own private net if you want to, or deploy it to testnet if you want to. And then we're one step closer to open sourcing like all of the code and making sure that you could basically run Flamingo on your own if you wanted to. And in terms of the front end as well, if that would disappear somehow, like due to government control or whatever, you could just copy the code and run it yourself. So we're getting closer to that vision as well, while we're developing the final changes on the code, because we need it for our own testing environment. We made it so that it should be easy for everyone to use this code eventually and get everything up and running. And also, it would be a nice place to look at the code and to learn more about Neo Entry and how it works and how you can build yourself. It has helped immensely for us to be able to do millisecond unit tests on complex contract logic. That wasn't really necessary before, where you can like test individually functions on a private net and have some sort of bot run to make sure the contracts worked as intended. But now with the new test suite, you could test every minor detail of a huge and large complex contract like the order book. And I'm looking forward to releasing that code as well, so everyone can take a look and see what we do and how we build and learn from it. So we have about 8 minutes left. If anyone wants to come on stage, you could just wave your hand and we'll we will be happy to have you.
Or
Not
feel
sure
free
if
to
you-
drop in questions in the chat.
Yeah. Is there any chat in general or something that we haven't picked up on, or everything okay?
Just check that. I didn't see any. Yep.
Yeah.
Got some questions from earlier today that I believe we've already answered, such as, can you give us approximate timeline for the bridge to come back up, order book, NeoX, and Flux? It's all going to be happening in the next couple months. Right now, we're still waiting for the bridge to come back up, of course, and security audits on that. If everything goes
migration
go ahead.
of tokens, migration of pools. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of things happening on Flamingo in the coming weeks. So one is bridge coming back up, but then you have like asset migration and pool migration. That's also a big thing. And then you have order book, of course. That's a huge thing. And then Flux will come and basically sunlight Flund. And there will be introduction of new assets on Lend. There will be higher loan to value on some assets on Lend. So there's a lot of changes coming the next weeks. Also, we have the LRB fund now ready to take transfers from people who bought or hold LRB and want a share of that fund. So I guess that's something that's going to be announced this week.
We'll announce it today, actually.
Yeah. So that's closing off at New Year's Eve, and then distribution is January next year. So then that chapter is behind us as well. Then those assets that went from Lend to LRB will then go to Flux instead. So for the previous 1.5 years, that's approximately around $100,000 extra that would go to Flux or Flund, basically. So some chapters are closed and some new ones open up.
Yeah, that's really good. And speaking of announcements, Bordeaux, and sharing information, I have had a request from community members if it is possible to get sort of like a written summary of what happens every AMA, or the bullet points of updates, because some people really don't want to sit an hour and listen to get the cliff notes of what's happening on Flamingo. We do announce articles from now and then, but this is really the arena where we're good at giving like the continual updates. Every 4 weeks there is an update of what's happening and the timelines, and even though features are not released, those who listen in usually get an update on where we're at. And some users seems to be like in the dark, like, why don't you ever like update us about what's happening? And well, we do once a month. Why don't you join the AMA? But I understand people are on different platforms as well, and maybe use 5 different dexes, so it's hard to keep track. So moving forward, maybe it's possible for one of our moderators that doesn't speak so much during the AMAs to take notes, and we could extrapolate from those notes and publish an article monthly that gives those updates. Because as I said, some people are not able to join live, and some people would rather not skim through like in 1 hour to just get the highlights of what's been done the last 4 weeks. Do you think
Yeah,
that's a
these
good
are
idea?
all good points. Good idea for sure. We usually break
Also,
out. Go ahead.
Yeah, just is China going to legalize Bitcoin? And that's a yes. I spoke to Ma earlier today. He and Trump are pro crypto, so they're gonna be Bitcoin bros. It's impossible to say, but it would be nice if they legalized crypto, legalized Bitcoin and crypto. I think would be more important for Neo at least, and I think that will be a huge win for us all. if China removes the ban that they hold on crypto. So yeah, I think Neo then would be a hot potato.
Indeed. And you were saying something, Bordeaux, before the China question.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it's always more important to get to the questions, since this, after all, is an AMA. But yeah, I was saying we do take these longer, hour-long sessions and break them out into shorts, which do kind of provide a little bit of a too long didn't read version. But I am also aware that not everyone follows every single short or has the time to listen to the longer version. So yeah, definitely a good idea to take notes during these lagoons and break them out and into like a too long didn't read type article on Medium or a tweet or both. So I'll get with the team and we'll decide on who can take notes from here on out, and we'll start if not this month, then next month, one or the other, and start getting out some summaries of these lagoons. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it becomes kind of like a newsletter, and once you share that article on X, then a lot of platforms like Binance and CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, they pick up on those tweets, and users are able to click those tabs where you can find Flamingo in the different platforms, and I would kind of give them a summary right there, what's going on, what's happening. So I think it's more engaging and more cool with the videos and the shorts and what we do there, but we have a gap to fill there, I guess, for investors as well, who buy on Binance and click that tab to see if there's kind of any activity, and there usually is, but you find it in the more visual communication channels.
We could even use AI, I think, to take notes for us if we want.
And also extrapolate those kind of notes if any moderator creates them, and create more full articles from that as well. So we don't take away even more time from our precious resources. But yeah, I think it's important. So we'll figure out a way to do it.
Definitely. And we also, I came up with this idea the other day to take quotes from these lagoons and turn them into more visual type tweets, as opposed to, a lot of people might scroll the Twitter without being able to listen to the shorts or to listen to the AMAs because, let's say, they're at work or they're on a bus or whatever. So if we can take some of the quotes from these AMAs and turn them into more visually appealing quotes on Twitter and Discord and etc., that's an initiative that we're going to move forward with as well.
Yeah, so quotes like Mr. Google said, he just spoke with Trump and Xi Jinping, and they're going to legalize crypto. They're crypto bros now. That's a good quote.
The next tweet on the Flamingo Twitter will be from Flip It, and it'll say, "I'm a fan of shorts," and it'll be an elephant wearing shorts.
Nice. Yeah, or a bull. Could be a bull. Then it's subtle signs of what's coming next.
Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I don't see any more questions being posted. Thanks again to the team for joining, and to the audience members for joining, and for those listening in on YouTube and Spotify. This has been an excellent Lagoon AMA. I don't know if anyone else on the team has any more comments, but if not, then thanks again, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.